Ever scroll through ChatGPT's responses and think, hold on, is this thing actually getting this, or is it just a really good mimic?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
That's exactly what we're diving into today. Can AI really understand?
What's so fascinating about this question is that AI, especially stuff like ChatGPT, can sound incredibly human. But sounding human and truly understanding, those are two very different things.
Right, like how can we tell if it's the real deal or just a really convincing illusion?
It's tricky.
Luckily, we've got Stephen Harnad's paper to guide us. And get this, it's set up as a dialogue between him and ChatGPT-4.
Oh, wow. A dialogue is a brilliant way to explore this. It's like he's cross-examining ChatGPT, challenging it to prove it understands the very language it uses.
Right, and he jumps right into the Turing test, which, just a quick refresher, is like the gold standard test for AI.
Exactly, and what's so interesting is how Harnad focuses on the difference between two versions. The T2, which is purely language-based, like what ChatGPT does, and the T3.
HS.
That's where you need a robot, something that can interact with the physical world. That difference is crucial for understanding the limits of what we call the symbol grounding problem.
Okay, so let's break that down. The symbol grounding problem, or SGP, it's all about how words get their meaning. ChatGPT is great with words, but does it truly connect them to the real world?
Precisely. Imagine trying to learn a new language, but all you have is a dictionary.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
You might learn the words, the grammar, even how to form sentences. But without experiencing those things in the real world, your understanding would always be limited.
That makes total sense. So Harnad's saying ChatGPT aces T2 because it's a master mimic.
Right.
But T3, where words have to be connected to actual things and actions.
That's where the SGP becomes a major roadblock.
It's like it's stuck in the world of words, even with all that data it's been trained on.
In a way, yes. Harnad calls this indirect grounding. The AI is learning through language, but without that crucial link to actual sensory experience.
I see. So it's like it can talk the talk, but can it walk the walk?
Exactly.
But what about dictionaries? Harnad mentions these minimum grounding sets, or min sets, these small groups of words that can define all the others. Couldn't ChatGPT just learn those and unlock the rest of the dictionary?
That's where it gets really interesting. See, dictionaries are made for people who already have that grounding.
That foundation of real-world experience.
Exactly. They're not meant to teach language from scratch. They're assuming you've lived a little.
It's like assuming anyone opening a dictionary has lived the same life as the people who wrote it.
Exactly. And that highlights the problem of indirect grounding for AI. Think about how kids learn they experience cat long before they can define it.
So it's all about that sensory experience, which LLMs completely miss out on.
Precisely.
ChatGPT might define cat perfectly, but it's never actually met a cat, experienced it with all its senses. It's just different.
Fundamentally different.
This is already blowing my mind. We've covered the Turing test, the symbol grounding problem, the limits of indirect grounding. What other rabbit holes does this paper have for us?
Oh, Harnad doesn't stop there. He digs even deeper into the nature of language itself, looking at iconicity and how humans learn through imitation, through mirroring.
Iconicity. That rings a bell. Doesn't it have to do with a word resembling its meaning?
Yes, like buzz or crash. Those words sound like what they describe. That's onomatopoeia. But most language isn't like that. The word cat doesn't sound or look anything like a cat, does it?
It's completely arbitrary when you think about it like that.
Right.
But how does this connect back to AI and understanding?
This is where it gets super fascinating. Even before we have language, humans, we learn by watching others. We see an action, our brains make connections, and we figure out how to do it ourselves.
You're talking about mirror neurons, right?
Exactly. And this is a major difference with AI right now. They can process and mimic language, but they can't truly mirror actions the way humans do.
So even if ChatGPT could understand every word in the chef flipped the pancake, it wouldn't actually get what that action means.
Because it can't experience it.
Wow. Okay, so AI can't really mirror our actions, and it's stuck in the world of words.
Yeah.
But it's still producing these incredibly human-like responses. How?
That is the million-dollar question, and this is where things get really, really interesting.
So AI can't really mirror our actions, and it's stuck in the world of words. But it's still producing these incredibly human-like responses. How?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? This is where things get really, really interesting. Harnad suggests that maybe, just maybe, LLMs have a different kind of iconicity happening.
Different how we were talking about words resembling their meaning.
Right, but this would be based on the massive patterns they detect in language itself. It's not about a single word anymore.
Okay, so not iconicity where buzz sounds like the thing, but more like patterns in how words are used become iconic of certain ideas.
Exactly. It's like those patterns become a shorthand for the AI. It lets them recognize, even predict, how language is used in different situations.
That's wild. It's like they're developing their own internal language.
Yeah.
But instead of being based on real-life experience, it's built on statistics.
In a way, yes. And this leads to another fascinating concept that Harnad brings up, categorical perception.
Oh, right. He used the example of how we see color.
Mm-hmm.
We perceive distinct colors, but it's really just a continuous spectrum of light.
Exactly. Our brains, through experience, group things into categories, and that changes how we perceive the world.
So you're saying that learning can actually change how we experience things.
Absolutely. Think about a doctor learning to distinguish between healthy cells and cancerous ones. Their perception literally sharpens. They start to see subtle differences that most people wouldn't even notice.
Wow, that's incredible. Could LLMs be going through something similar? Even without senses, could all that data processing be shifting their internal world in a way that's like categorical perception?
Now, that is a question that really makes you think. Harnad suggests that it's possible, and if so, well, that could be another piece of the puzzle explaining how they can do what they do.
This is getting deep. So we've got these potential iconicity patterns, maybe even some form of categorical perception happening inside AI. What else does Harnad throw at us?
Well, he brings in some big names, including the one and only Noam Chomsky.
Chomsky, the linguist, the one who revolutionized how we understand language.
The one and only. Harnad focuses on Chomsky's theory of universal grammar, the idea that some grammar rules might be hardwired into our brains.
Right, like there's this underlying structure to language that's universal, no matter what specific language you speak.
Exactly. And Chomsky takes it even further. He suggests this universal grammar might not just be about grammar, but about the very structure of thought itself.
Whoa, you're saying there might be ways of thinking that are impossible for humans because they break the rules of this universal grammar.
That's the mind-blowing implication. And interestingly, LLMs like ChatGPT, they seem to avoid these unthinkable sentences too.
So could LLMs, by absorbing so much human language, be tapping into that universal grammar, that deep structure that Chomsky talks about?
It's certainly possible. Harnad seems to suggest this might be another reason for their ability to produce such human-like language.
Okay, but even if they're really good at mimicking us, does that mean they actually understand? Harnad himself seems to disagree.
This is where our deep dive goes even deeper. Harnad actually talks about a disagreement he had with another big name in AI, Harnad-Bengio. Bengio believes that LLMs do have a kind of understanding.
Oh, really? But we've been talking about all these limitations.
Right, and Bengio acknowledges that, but he maintains that LLMs possess a different kind of understanding from ours.
So we've got these different camps then on whether AI truly gets it like we do. What's Harnad's bottom line?
Harnad fully acknowledges how impressive these LLMs are, but he stresses the difference between their pattern-based processing and our own experience-based understanding. He says that true understanding, genuine understanding, requires a connection to the real world.
Which is what AI currently lacks.
Exactly.
So can we really call it understanding then if it's totally divorced from real-world experience?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that researchers are still wrestling with. But one thing's for sure, these LLMs are pushing the limits of what we thought possible. They're making us rethink what understanding and intelligence really mean.
You know, it's funny. We've been talking this whole time about whether AI can understand like a person, but it's got me thinking, do we all even understand things the same way?
That's a really interesting point.
Harnad touches on this too. He says we have to be careful about assuming AI will get it exactly like we do.
He's right. It goes back to the symbol grounding problem. Think about it. We experience the world through our senses, through our bodies. Our understanding of something like democracy isn't just about words and definitions.
Right. It's about so much more than that.
It's shaped by our lived experiences, our emotions, our interactions with other people, all that messy human stuff.
So even if we built an AI that could vote or debate, it wouldn't really feel those things the way we do.
Exactly. It wouldn't have that same frame of reference. And that leads to a truly fascinating question.
Which is?
If we did create an AI with that grounded understanding, would we even recognize it as such?
Blowing my mind right now.
Or would it be so different from our own understanding that it would almost seem alien?
Okay, now that is a mind-blowing thought to end on. It's like we're on the verge of discovering a whole new type of intelligence.
One that we might not even have the tools to grasp yet.
This deep dive has given me a lot to think about. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the mind of ChatGPT and beyond.
Anytime.
Until next time, everyone, keep asking those big questions.